presenting the chapter 10, which is entitled Performance Appraisal and Career Management. So without any further ado, let me get started. So first part on this topic, we're going to define the definition, or what does it means when we hear the word performance appraisal. So performance appraisal, by definition, is the specific and formal evaluation of an employee. It is to determine the degree to which the employee is performing his or her job effectively. So, through performance appraisal is the way of an organization or a business to see or assess whether an employee is doing their job correctly from time to time. They need to do this because they need to determine or who are doing their job, who the business need to determine if an employee is doing their job correctly or by the standards. So there are other terms for performance appraisal, which is can be also called performance evaluation, performance review, annual review, employee appraisal, and employee evaluation. So second is, what does it mean when we hear the performance management? Performance management, it refers to the general set of activities carried out by the organization to change but by when we say change is to improve an employee performance. So performance management is the ultimate goal of performance appraisal activities. So as I said earlier, performance appraisal is the way an organization determine if an employee is doing their job correctly. So by doing performance appraisal, an organization is doing a performance management. It is because they need to, after assessing na makita nila yung activity or yung performance ng isang employee, through performance management, they can improve or correct an employee's behavior or the way that employee do things para ma-improve through performance management. So the importance of performance appraisal is first, performance appraisal provide a benchmarking for selecting and recruiting process. So performance appraisal set the standards or rules that needs to be, adhere para maging logical and rationally yung pag-select and recruit ng mga employees in a process. Performance appraisal are also important for legal reasons. So, in here, it refers na para maging legal or systematic or logical yung kanilang pag-promote ng mga employees, transfer, terminations, and reward allocations and such. Appraisal play a role as part of the larger performance management process. So in here sa number 3 is, like I said, sa performance management, through performance appraisal is an organization can help manage an employee's performance by correcting, and through that ma-improve yung kanilang activity and enhance overall productivity of the business. And last importance of performance appraisal is, through performance appraisal, information should be the basis of incentive pay systems and other performance management interventions. So as the other group discussed about the compensation and benefits in the chapter 9, which is the last chapter, there is a correlation sa incentive pay and performance appraisal. Sinasabi dito na sa performance appraisal, which can be the basis sa basis ng incentive pay ng organization sa kanilang employees, whether their performance is good or bad, dito mababase sa kanila yung kanilang incentive.
So, good day everyone. My name is Appraisal Pisolara and I will be tackling about the performance appraisal process. So, think of it as a performance appraisal as a formal check-in at work, time in, time out, where you and your boss talk about how you're doing. It's a chance to look back at your work over a specific period, like a year, and see what went well and what could be improved. So there are 3 branches of performance appraisal process. First is the role of the organization. Second is the role of rater. Third is the role of the ratee. So, the role of organization is the organization primarily through the work of its HR function develops the general performance appraisal process for its manager and employee to use. So, what does what does the role of organization? The company resources or HR department is like the architect. They design a blueprint for the entire process, creating the forms, rules, and procedure that everyone from the managers to employees will follow. So second is the role of rater. Traditionally and most typically the supervisor of the employee being appraised or plays the largest role in the appraisal process. This is usually your supervisor or manager. They are the one who fills out your performance review, like yung kunwari dito sa NDU, di ba may less? So, doon natin generate, ganon. Sila, yung mga manager, yung nag-rate sa employee, kung ano yung performance nila. So, lastly, the role of ratee. The ratee also has responsibilities in the appraisal process. Ratee should have a clear unbiased view of his or her performance. So, the ratee, this is you. Yung, kunwari, employee ka, ikaw na ito, employee ka nito. Being reviewed. You should have a clear, honest view of your own performance and be prepared to discuss it. So, next slide is who performs the performance appraisal and what gets rated, who should be rated. So, the question for the who performs the performance appraisal, there are 5 categories: supervisor, peer, self-appraisal, customer, and subordinates. So, appraisal, who performs the appraisal? Appraisal are not always done by just one person. While a supervisor is the most common rater, others can also provide valuable feedback. This can include the peer, which is your coworkers, customers, or your customers na nagre-rate sa mismong organization, subordinates, people who report to you. There are self-appraisal, yung nire-rate yung sarili, where you evaluate your own performance, yun nga, tulad ng sabi ko. This is a comprehensive approach, is often called 360-degree feedback, which gives a complete view of an employee performance from all angles. So, who gets rated? The review focuses on 3 areas, which is traits, behavior, and performance based on outcomes. So the behavior is about how you do your job, not just what you accomplish. For example, include your communication skills, teamwork, problem solving, and your approach to other customers or people. So the traits is These are personal characteristics like your attitude, dependability, or creativity. So last outcome. This refers this refers to the specific result of your work. Did you meet your sales rate? Like, na-meet mo ba yung goals mo towards your work? Did you complete your project or your quotas? Did you I This is about the measurable achievements you approach. So that is the performance based outcomes. So next question is, who should be rated? Can be based on individual effort or can be based to a team cooperation effort. So individual effort, this assesses your personal contribution and how well you perform your specific duties. Team cooperation is this evaluates how well your work with others contribute to group goals and support your colleagues. So now we're gonna talk about the performance appraisal method. So performance appraisal methods are used to evaluate how well employees are doing their jobs. While objective measures like sales numbers are ideal, they often aren't available or don't fairly reflect individual performance due to external factors. So, most organizations use subjective evaluation, managers' judgments of employee performance. These subjective methods can be prone to bias and error, but efforts have been made to improve their fairness and usefulness. Appraisal methods can be relative, like comparing employees to each other, or absolute, like rating employees based on set standard. So, for example, a sales company may use sales figures as an objective measure to evaluate performance. However, if one salesperson works in a high-demand city and another in a rural area, comparing their numbers might be unfair. In this case, the manager might use a subjective evaluation like client feedback or teamwork ratings to give a fuller picture. Now, let's proceed to the key points of the performance appraisal method. The first is subjectivity is common because most jobs don't have clear objective performance measures. Next, second is objective data can be misleading. External factors like location may affect results. Third is some objective measures work like sales numbers or complaint reduction, but only when factors are under the employee's control. The fourth is these are the two main types of appraisal methods. These are the relative and absolute. The relative is comparing employees to each other, and the absolute is rating each employee against a set standard. The fifth is bias and rating error. These are the risks with subjective appraisals. And the last one is managers and employee may be uncomfortable with performance judgment, adding to the challenge. Next is the ranking method versus rating methods in performance appraisal. Ranking methods involve comparing employees relative to each other, while the rating methods involve evaluating each employee against a fixed standard. So, for the ranking method example, a manager ranks 5 employees from best to worst. And those 5 employees are Dan, Eva, Carol, Bob, and Alice. So, their manager needs to rank them from best to worst. So, the rank 1 is Alice, which is the best. Rank 2 is Bob. Rank 3 is Carol. Rank 4 is Dan. And rank 5 is Eva. And that is the example for the ranking method. So now let's move on to the rating method example. So each employee is rated on a scale from 1 to 5. For example, Alice Si Alice, binigyan ang rate sa kanya ng mga ka-employee niya is 5. Si Bob, ang rate sa kanya ng mga ka-employee niya is 4. Si Carol naman, ang rate sa kanya ng mga ka-employee niya is 3. And si Eva, ang rate sa kanya ng mga ka-employee niya is 4. And that is the example for the rating method. So, these are the summary of ranking method versus rating method. Ranking compares employees to each other, useful for promotion decision but lacks detail. Forced distribution. This is a type of ranking that forces ratings into fixed categories, like the top is 20%, the middle is 60%, and the bottom is 20%. The rating is, it evaluates employees against standards, more fair, informative, and development-oriented. And the last one is, many organizations prefer rating methods for their flexibility and fairness.
So, ano nga ba ang critical incident? It is a method relies on instances of especially good or poor performance on the part of the employee. So, kumbaga, ito na yung evaluation. Dito, nakafocus yung mga specific situation kung saan ang empleyado ay nagpapakita ng sobrang galing or sobrang pangit na performance. So, for example, sa isang call center, isang agent ang nagpasolve ng mahirap na problema ng customer na ibang agents hindi kaya ito sagutin. Positive critical incident ito. Pero kung ang agent ay nag-walk out habang galit yung customer, negative critical incident naman iyon. So, next is behaviorally anchored rating scale or BARS is an appraisal system that represent a combination of the graphic rating scale and the critical incident method. So, parang research survey questionnaire lang natin, di ba? May pagpipilian yung mga respondents natin doon, which is yung 1 to 5. Ang 1, strongly agree, 2, agree, 3, neutral, 4, disagree, and 5, strongly disagree. So, yun siya. Next is behavioral observation scale or BOS or BOS is a performance appraisal method similar to behaviorally anchored rating scale. Ito kasi mas detailed kasi gumagamit ng mas maraming real behaviors bilang batayan. Tinitignan gaano kadalas ginagawa ng mga empleyado yung mga behaviors nila. So, for example, teacher's evaluation. Diba may pagpipilian tayo doon which is always, sometimes, never. So, ang mga tanong doon is, naghahanda ba siya ng lesson plan? So, sasagutin mo yun ng palagi, minsan or hindi. So, yun siya. Next is a goal-based or management by objectives or MBO system is a management approach where the evaluation of an individual's performance is primarily based on the extent to which they achieve their personal performance objectives. So, sa ano pa lang, performance naka-base kung na-meet ba nila yung mga specific goals na naset within the manager. So, for example, isa kang salesperson, di ba? May goal na makabenta ka ng 100k worth of product sa loob ng isang buwan. Kung naabot niya yung, o nalagpasan pa niya, good performance yon. Pero kung hindi, below expectation na nila yon. So, next is contrast error or contrast error. It occurs when we compare people against one another instead of against an objective standards. So, nangyayari kapag ikino-compare ang employees sa isa't isa imbes na sa objective standards. So, for example, may dalawang janitor. Yung isa, super sipag niya. Naglilinis talaga siya kahit hindi mo siya sinasabihan. Pero yung isa kasi, ginagawa niya lang yung trabaho niya kapag inassign siya doon. Kapag ang manager kino-compare sila sa isa't isa, baka nagmumukhang tamad yung normal janitor kahit pasado naman siya sa standards. Dapat i-base sa job standards, hindi sa kung sinong mas magaling. So, in conclusion, ang critical incident is nakafocus sa very good or bad events, while ang BARS is rating scale from strongly agree to strongly disagree. Ang BOS naman is mas maraming observe behaviors like, yun nga, pagpipilian mo yung always, never, or sometimes, while ang MBO is nakabase sa mga goals or objectives, while ang contrast errors is comparing employees versus each other, not the standards.
Dissatisfaction in performance appraisal. Individuals involved in performance appraisal, such as employees and supervisors, are often dissatisfied with the process. This content arises because accurately measuring a person's job performance is challenging, and various issues emerge when attempting to evaluate it. Rating errors refers to mistakes made by evaluators when assigning performance scores to employees. Recognizing and avoiding these errors is essential to ensure the accuracy and fairness of the appraisal results. Leniency error occurs when a rater consistently gives higher rating than an employee actually deserves, reflecting an overly permissive evaluation style. Halo effect happens when a rater's overall positive impression of an employee leads to uniformly high ratings across all performance dimensions, even in areas where the employee may not excel. Horns effect, the opposite of the halo effect. A negative impression of an employee causes the rater to assign low ratings across all categories, regardless of actual performance in specific areas. Distributional errors. These arise when a rater uses the rating scale inconsistently or unevenly. There are three common types. Leniency, consistently giving overly high ratings. Severity, consistently giving overly low ratings. Central tendency, avoiding extreme ratings by consistently placing evaluations in the middle of the scale. Contextual performance refers to behaviors and activities that, while not explicitly stated in an employee's job description, contribute positively to the overall functioning of the organization. Examples include assisting co-workers, volunteering for projects, and adhering to organizational roles. Importance of contextual performance. The significance of contextual performance lies in its ability to foster a collaborative and productive work environment. Recent controversy. Recent controversy, a current example of social controversy, involves the term Philippines. This term emerged in the United States as a gender-neutral alternative to Filipino or Filipina. However, many Filipinos have criticized its use, arguing that it does not align naturally with the structure of the Tagalog language and appears to imitate English linguistic patterns. Critics contend that the term Filipino is already inclusive and gender-neutral in most contexts.
So next is the evaluating the performance and appraisal process. So when we say performance evaluation, is the systematic way of checking how effectively an employee performs their duties and responsibilities. It doesn't only look at the employee's output but also examines the appraisal system itself, whether it is fair, accurate, and truly helpful in improving both individual and organizational performance. So basically, for example, yung pagdademo ng mga practice teaching, yung performance nila is naka-evaluate based on criteria such as lesson delivery, classroom management, and student achievement. And after ng evaluation na yun, the school also may assess whether the appraisal method used, such as classroom observation, student feedback, and peer reviews, is also effective and unbiased. If the system is found to be lacking, like for example, it only measures the attendance but not teaching quality, the organization may revise the appraisal process to make it more accurate and useful. So next is the appraisal process. Ito yung formal procedure ng organization na nag-use ng evaluate an employee's work over a specific period of time. It includes reviewing how well the employee met their job responsibilities. Like, yung sa performance evaluation is nag-evaluate, then dito sa appraisal process is nag-review sila ng rating performance against set goals or standards and providing feedback to help them improve. In short, the appraisal and performance process is the goal to recognize strength, identify areas for improvement, provide feedback, and align employee goals with the organization's objectives. So, legal issues in performance appraisal, meaning when performance appraisals are used to decide things like promotions, pay raises, or other HR actions, they are treated legally like a test or selection tool. If the appraisal process shows signs of disparate impact like unfair, it must be validated and proven to be fair. Then job-related and persistent, just like employment tests or hiring methods. The nature of careers. Careers today are influenced by factors such as globalization, technology, education, and personal values. People may shift industries, upgrade skills, or even redefine their goals multiple times. And also, the nature of careers reflects both personal aspirations and external changes, highlighting the balance between stability and adaptability in achieving long-term success and fulfillment. For example na lang yung teacher na nag-start ng assistant teacher, then naging subject teacher, then later on naging head teacher, and after a years, naging principal ng school and also a dean ng college department. And along the way, they gain a new skills, take training, and grow as a professional individual. So the meaning of career means it's not only about a single job, but the whole sequence of work experiences like a person goes through in life. So these experiences are shaped by what the person is good, like sa skills, then enjoy the interest in mga hobbies, then what they believe in, and what they want to achieve. A career shows a long-term growth, whether one field or by moving across different fields. For example, the business career path. Like, nagsimula siya sa sales associate, then naging sales supervisor, up to marketing manager, and business development director, hanggang sa naging company executive. So, yun yung meaning ng the meaning of career. It's not only about the single job, but the whole sequence of work and experience as a person.
So now let's talk about the career development issues and challenging. So basically, career development issues and challenging ay tungkol sa kung paano masuportahan ng companies ang growth ng employees habang binabalanse ang personal at work life. Ginagamit nila ang career counseling programs, formal tulad ng workshops, and informal tulad ng appraisal discussions para matulungan ng empleyado. So, meron ding special programs para sa fast-track managers, women at monitors upang bigyan sila ng support at equal opportunities. So, kasama rin dito ang pag-consider sa dual career household at work-family balance. Dahil mas marami ng women sa workforce at mas iba na ang family needs, ang company ay nag-aalok ng family-friendly practices tulad ng flexible schedules, childcare at elder care support. Dahil alam nila na kapag maayos ang well-being ng empleyado, mas gumaganda rin ang workplace performance. Next one is clear communication of opportunities and expectations. So, mahalaga na malinaw ang companies na sa mga empleyado tungkol sa career opportunities na available tulad ng promotion, training, o bagong role. At sa expectation ng trabaho, bagayan ng responsibilities at performance standards, kapag malinaw ito, mas alam ng empleyado na kung paano ang dapat niyang gawin at paano siya makakapag-grow sa career niya. So the last one is career counseling to align personal and organizational perspective. So ang career counseling ay tumutulong para makonect ang personal goals ng empleyado. Gusto niya na ma-achieve sa career, at ang organizational goals ng kumpanya ay kung paano or kung ano ang kailangan nila para mag-grow ang business. Sa madaling salita, sa ganitong paraan, parehong natutulungan ng empleyado at ang kumpanya na umunlad.